Raw Story has a fascinating article about how differently Iceland treated the financial crisis compared to the U.S. They say, quote, in stark contrast to the record low number of prosecutions of CEOs at high-level financial executives in the U.S., Iceland has just sentenced 26 bankers to a combined 74 years in prison. The majority of those convicted have been sentenced to prison terms of 2 to 5 years. The maximum penalty in Iceland for financial crimes is 6 years, although hearings are currently underway to consider extending the maximum beyond 6 years. They continue, the prosecutions are the result of Iceland's banksters manipulating the Icelandic financial markets after Iceland deregulated their finance sector in 2001. Eventually, an accumulation of foreign debt resulted in a meltdown of the entire banking sector in 2008. In the U.S., not a single banking executive was charged with crimes related to the 2008 financial crisis, even though the U.S. itself precipitated the crisis. The Icelandic president summed it up best in his response when asked how his country recovered from the global financial crisis. Here's what he said, guys, and this is really important. He said, "We were wise enough not to follow the traditional prevailing orthodoxies of the Western financial world in the last 30 years. We introduced currency controls, we let the banks fail, we provided support for the people, and didn't introduce austerity measures like you're seeing in Europe." And what happened when they did that? It fucking worked! They say, while Iceland has prosecuted those that caused their financial crisis, America has done the opposite. In 2008, after Congress bailed out the failing American banks to the tune of $700 billion, courtesy of the American taxpayer, many of the executives of institutions that received TARP bailout funds ended up getting large bonuses. All right, so understand this. This is so ironic because it's the conservatives and it's the Republicans who always talk about incentive. How, okay, this is why capitalism is better. And to a certain extent, they're right when they broadly speak about incentive. That it should be the harder you work, the further you go. And if you fail, and you don't get rewarded for that, because then why would you not fail again in the future? Because you already learned the lesson that you can be saved if you fail, so just keep failing, and then the state will prop you up. And that's fucked up. You can't have that. Now, when you're talking about just poor people eating, I don't think that argument applies nearly as much. But when you're talking about financial institutions, when you're talking about Wall Street and investment banks, and these people who made horrific decisions for their companies, bankrupted their companies, they go belly up. Should they fail if they actually failed? Fuck yeah, they should fail. And think about it. Does it work the same for small businesses? So if you go to your local deli or if you go to your local dry cleaner and they're having financial troubles, does the government rush in and say, I'm going to give you $3 million to keep going here? This is crazy. I got to save you. No, they don't do that. They say, hey, tough for you. This is capitalism. What are you going to do? Go find something else to do. Go try to make money another way. But when the richest and most powerful people in the country go belly up, oh, you can never let them fail. You can never, even if it's directly as a result of their own decisions, you can't let them fail. Now, why is that really that they didn't let them fail? Not because, oh my God, we gotta save the economy. It's gonna... No, because they're the ones who give political contributions to the different candidates in the Republican and the Democratic Party. So they're their buddies. You know, if somebody gives you $100,000 for any reason, you're gonna like them. You're gonna help them out when they come calling. When they say, I'm about to lose my fucking job, my mortgage, I don't have enough money saved. Yeah, I make a lot of money every year, but if I lose this, I'm fucksville. What are they gonna do? Okay, we got you. We'll bail you out, man. We'll take money from the construction worker, from the accountant, from the teacher. We'll give it to you. So this is a reverse Robin Hood. And remember, in Iceland, what did they do? The opposite. They said, oh, you failed? Sucks for you. Shouldn't have made those decisions. Shouldn't have fucked up the economy that way. This is capitalism. What are you going to do? And who did they actually bail out? The people. Because the people didn't actually do anything wrong. You know, you go in to get a loan for a house, you go in to get a mortgage, you're not an expert in finance, you don't know it's predatory, you don't know necessarily what's going to happen with a ballooning interest rate. You know, you're paying 4%, 3% on your mortgage the first few years, you blink and you're paying 18%, you can't fucking afford that. It's absolute nonsense to save the people who caused the fucking problem and hose the victims. And that's what we did in America. And they got fucking bonuses. It's not just that, okay, you get to keep your job even though you suck donkey dick at it. No, it's not only can you keep your job, here, take more money. What the fuck is this? Wouldn't you be incentivized to cause another crash? If you know that when the crash happens, not only are we going to get bailed out, We're going to get bonuses, bitch. And meanwhile, the regular people, I mean, you've seen the numbers. We've covered them on the show. How many people lost their homes? How many people lost their jobs? The unemployment rate spiked. Unbelievable. And in Iceland, they did the opposite. And it fucking worked. So what should we do? We should learn a lesson. And we know this lesson. We understand it. But again, the thing that's preventing us from acting on it is not that we don't get it, because we do. It's because the system is fucking corrupt. So you gotta get the money out of the system so that when a problem comes up, you can handle it in a reasonable way and not just figure out which special interest you're gonna save while you hose the other ones.